Well, a very, very warm welcome to St Peter Mancroft Church here in Norwich. My name's Edward Carter and I'm the vicar here. Every Wednesday we have a reflection at 1 o'clock and it's live streamed as well. And this Lent, these reflections are connected to our Lent course, which is called Flying the Flag for Jesus with a question mark, and is exploring the theme of Christian nationalism. So if you're visiting the church and not here for the Lent group, please do carry on being here and enjoying being here and looking around if you'd like to. But welcome to all of you who are in the church, and you're welcome, as you know, to come downstairs for the discussion that will follow this reflection. And indeed a welcome to any of you joining us online as well. Well, this particular church, alongside many other churches here in Norwich, stands right at the heart of the city. And to the south is the Haymarket. To the north, the main marketplace, Norwich Market, which used to encompass a vegetable market just in front of the Guildhall, also a fish market towards the top, just outside where now it's City Hall, where the memorial gardens are. There was also a cloth market, apparently, just to the north side of this church. In fact, it might even have encroached into the churchyard at various times. There was a cattle market, which ran until not all that long ago, in the last century, which was in the Castle Bailey, so roughly now where the Castle Mall shopping centre is. There was a Madder Market, and indeed there's still a St John Madder Market church just on Pottergate, which sold where dyes for textiles were sold. That's what Madder is. Timber Hill, that was where there was a timber market. And there was a horse market on St Stephen's Street. Rampant Horse Street kind of gives the game away on that one. Lots of markets, different markets, all around this city. And of course, that's what drew all sorts of people here. And I was sort of imagining to myself what it must have been like all those centuries ago when all these markets were operating day by day, I'm sure. It must have been quite an exciting place in a way. If you had something that you'd prepared carefully to sell, maybe vegetables at the vegetable market, or indeed if you had something that you needed to buy, you knew you could come to Norwich and meet with someone in order to buy what you might need. And indeed also many of the gravestones here in this church, and it'll be true of other churches as well, I'm sure, at St Stephen's, they are for the merchants, the market traders of this great city of Norwich. And of course, the market is still here. Norwich Market is still very much here. I walked through it earlier on today. It's a place to meet with people, and there are still things, of course, you can buy there. You can buy bread that's baked locally, been baked literally that morning. But it has to be said that most of our economy now, the things that we buy, the things we sell, most of it is not like that. It's not the same as it was when all those local markets were operating here in Norwich centuries ago. I think this was particularly brought home to me probably a couple of years ago when I visited Sheffield, another great city further north, of course. And Sheffield is famous for its steel, Sheffield steel. And there was a museum there which told the story of steel making and Sheffield as a place, a very proud history, a proud tradition of Sheffield steel. And all sorts of manufacturers there, people who had their own little workshops that would make knives and forks and all sorts of other really useful, important things using the steel from Sheffield. But now none of that exists other than in the museum. It's just a memory. It's all been swept away. And so there was a sadness about Sheffield as a result, I think. I felt that as a visitor. And more generally, I think it is true to say, that we hardly ever meet the people who've actually grown our food or made our clothes. In fact, the chances are they live the other side of the world, some far-flung place. And it's quite a modern idea, really, that it doesn't matter where things are made. It doesn't matter, so long as they're cheap. That's what's come to be important in the last 50 years, maybe 100 years. So Sheffield steel used to be important because we knew that steel was made in Sheffield. That's where you would go. It's where it would come from. But now, a big business in the making steel or indeed making knives and forks wouldn't worry whether it was made in Sheffield at all. They would simply say, where's it cheapest to make them? And they would buy them from there or set up a factory there. That's not universally true. That's a bit of a caricature. But that is, in general terms, how the world has gone. And we have a global market with intricate transport networks. And it is an extraordinary thing, the modern economy. But there are consequences to this. And some consequences, or one anyway, certainly seems to be a good one. Because there are those who've benefited greatly from this change, this growth in the global economy. Many people, or at least some people in the world, I suspect many of us who live here in this country, are vastly better off as a result. And of course, in a way, that is a good thing. We're better off, we're richer, particularly if you think of something like healthcare, which is much improved because partly of the global economy. And indeed, not so good. Some people have done incredibly well, have accumulated vast wealth of this global economy. And that's why things like tax havens have sprung up outside of any community. No longer are the markets full of merchants. The merchants have disappeared and don't seem to live alongside us anymore. Again, a caricature, a generalization, but these things are true. And so there's a danger, another consequence, a danger that a sense of community might be undermined, and the importance of traditions and skills within a community might be lost, often maintained only in the museums that perhaps spring up to replace the real, actual economic life of a community. And there's a suggestion, which I think is certainly true, that this lack of care for our local situation and the way in which the global economy has grown has kind of rippled out into a carelessness towards the whole planet, the whole of planet Earth. The ecological crises which we're facing are very much connected to this industrial revolution and trading revolution that's happened over the last 100 or 200 years. One of the A-levels I did, I'm slightly embarrassed to own up to, but actually no, was good to do, was economics. And I was keen to discover about how the economy worked. And I remember being taught about marginal costs and marginal prices and how gradually if you had more of something, you would pay a bit less for it, and the various technical things that neoclassical economics teaches. And filled with enthusiasm, I'll never forget this, I came home one day and thought I'll try it out on my mum, see what she thinks. So I said, well, supposing you had 2 apples and 2 oranges already, how much would you pay for an extra apple as compared with an extra orange? Trying to work out the comparative pricing, if any of you have ever studied economics, of different goods. And she gave me a funny look and said, well, if I've already got 2 apples and 2 oranges, I don't need any more, do I? I've got enough. And modern economics doesn't really understand that idea of enough. That's part of the problem as well. A valuing of stories and places for what they are is gradually eroded as away, not just an economic price, but a true and deep sense of things being valuable and part of our common life. And to connect it to our Lent course more explicitly, and we'll pick this up as we go downstairs, any of us who are staying. Some have argued, I think quite coherently, that some of the anger that's bubbling up, that's emerging in the form of Christian nationalism, is an attempt to regain that deeper sense of place, a sense of place which embraces, in a way, that old idea of markets, real people that we share real life with. And the truth is that the markets here in Norwich were full of people who'd come from all around the world. Norwich was always a welcoming city. Some of the trades carried on here were very much carried on by people who'd arrived as immigrants. but there was a sense of place and of sharing life with people, which many have argued the modern economy has undermined in quite a serious way. Or to put it yet another way, perhaps we've made ourselves a world which is sort of placeless in some way. We don't value the actual places where we live anymore. Well, thank you for listening to me, my short reflection. If you're visiting, please do carry on, but if you'd like to come and join us for our Lent discussion group downstairs, the coffee is made, the room is prepared, and we'll carry on the conversation in 5 minutes or so. Thank you very much.